as decisions get made about the quarterback. Justin Fields will get his first start Sunday against Cleveland because Andy Dalton is dealing with a left knee injury. The Bears coach is Matt Nagy. He was asked what will happen when Dalton's knee gets better, and here's what he said.
When Andy is healthy, he's our starter. And then I go back to, for Justin, Justin's worried about right now, and Justin's worried about trying to help us beat Cleveland. I've talked about it this entire time that we're not going to get into that what-if game. I really want to go there other than just saying that when Andy is healthy, he's our starter.
Schefter, what can you tell us?
Listen, they went into the season with the plan that Andy Dalton would be the starter for as long as he could be this year. And in a perfect world, as Matt Nagy did in Kansas City when Patrick Mahomes was drafted there in the first round and sat on the bench for the first 15 of the 16 games, learning from Alex Smith. That was the plan here, that Justin Fields would sit on the bench, hopefully, preferably, for the whole season. Now, that's probably not realistic and probably not practical because at some point in time the team would lose, Andy Dalton would struggle, whatever it may be. But that was the plan, and they're sticking to that right now, saying that Andy Dalton will be the guy once he's healthy, but he's dealing with a bone bruise on his knee. He's considered week to week right now, Greeny. And so in the interim, Justin Fields gets the start. And I would say this, if Justin Fields plays well and they win, I would imagine it's going to take Andy Dalton's knee another week to heal beyond what it is.
Yeah, and you know what that sound you hear is Shefty's dogs speaking for all the Chicago fans.
This is life.
That's what all the Chicago fans, they're all barking at the TV right now. As you're saying that, they're all yelling, what? That's ridiculous. Louis Riddick, you've been on top of the situation from the very beginning. Fill us in here. He's sticking to his guns on the Dalton of it all. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he's taking it game by game now, okay? If Justin comes out here against Cleveland and goes on the road and wins this football game and lights it up, throws for 250, 275, 300, something crazy like that, Allen Robinson goes crazy. I mean, then, of course, he's going to sit back and he's going to go in that meeting room and go into the staff room. He's going to be looking around at his coaches going, Andy's our starter when he's, and as Adam said, we should probably hold him out another week. This is all going to be very, very, very fluid at this point because now he has the perfect way to go ahead and put him in if Justin shows that he is the spark that this team needs and can take this offense to a whole nother level. Now, if Justin goes out there and his eyes are real big and he struggles and the team struggles and it looks like the offense is bogging down even more and he thinks this is going to be a detriment to his development, then he will find himself back on the bench. I think this is very much so contingent upon how Justin plays.
So this could be, Bart, the first ever injury that will basically heal dependent on the performance of another player, right? Andy Dalton's knee will be as healthy as Justin Fields plays well.
Yeah, Andy better put some Robitussin on that. He better hurry and get back and say that he's healthy. When you think about Justin Fields, this is the perfect best case scenario because it gives them a soft landing. Because if Justin struggles, they can say, okay, they can go back to Andy because, okay, he was always our starter. But if Justin plays well, then they can continue to say, okay, well, we're going to let the young kid play and see how far he can take it. I mean, when you look at his stats, 6 for 13, through an interception, right? You look at that play, he kicked out of that run. That very easily could have been a fumble, right? So it's like, maybe the kid's not ready. It's something that maybe that they're saying that he's not ready to process the entire offense. They're going to have to simplify it, really, really run the ball, boots and waggles, and throwbacks and use his athleticism because you don't want him trying to figure out. We know what rookie quarterbacks that struggle. We saw that last week, Greeny.
D. Wood has sat here as you were talking this entire time with his eyes closed. What can you tell us here, D. Wood?
Greeny, I don't know what the hell Matt Nagy is doing. Like seriously, I don't know what the hell Matt Nagy is doing. Sitting here talking about Justin Fields isn't ready. He's not ready. That's been the whole thing, all off season, after the draft, all that stuff. You have Nick Foles on. If Justin Fields is not ready, why isn't Nick Foles playing?
Well,
why isn't Nick Foles playing? Why are you paying Nick Foles all this money sitting on your roster? You sitting here, you've been telling us that Justin Fields isn't ready. Then all of a sudden, with the injury to Andy Dalton, you're gonna slide him in. What the hell are you talking about?
D-Wood, he's a trade chip. You know what that's all about. They're trying to wait for somebody to get super desperate that needs a backup quarterback. They got him in bubble wrap. They're not trying to get Nick Foles hurt. They want to get Nick Foles traded up out of there maybe for a 4th-round draft pick for somebody that's desperate for a backup quarterback. Did you see the quarterback injury report last week? Looked like an episode of MASH or ER.
Let me get Shefty back in on that thought for a final word on that, because that is one interesting point. If Fields isn't ready. Foles is there, and he obviously knows the offense. What do you think?
Well, Foles is the backup right now. They'd rather give Justin Fields a shot. This is what everybody wants to see. They've been waiting for this. But I would just point out this. We were talking about the injury. 20 years ago today, Greeny, Mo Lewis knocked out Drew Bledsoe. And the Patriots were going to stick with this young Tom Brady until Drew Bledsoe was healthy. How'd that work out?
Yes.
Way to pick scabs.
Worked out pretty well. Worked out pretty well for them. 20 years ago today, Sergeant Pepper told the band to play, and Tom Brady became the greatest player of all time. All right, we're just with the Panthers and the Texans. Maybe not the sexiest game, but Carolina seeking its first 3-0 start since 2015. They've lost 4 straight that have been played on Thursdays. So we have that to begin. But then Sunday, it gets really good. We've got Kansas City hosting the Chargers. Patrick Mahomes, 16-2 against the division with a 78.8 total QBR. Best of any in the league since 2006. Tom Brady playing his first game ever at SoFi Stadium against the Rams. This could be a playoff preview. Brady, by the way, has already won at 41 different stadiums, 3 more than anyone else ever. And then closing out Sunday, Aaron Rodgers looking to even up his record against the 49ers. It has been quite a week for Aaron Rodgers, who has had a lot to say Monday and Tuesday and yesterday. Let's hear it all.
I just think people like to say a lot of and it's nice to come back in here after a game like that.
It's absolute horse to give a platform to people who have no idea what they're talking about as far as my mental state and, my focus.
I do want to maybe rephrase or refocus what I said. I strongly believe in everybody's ability to have an opinion, and I respect the fact that they have an opinion and should have an opinion. My issue is a platform given to individuals who only desire to say inflammatory things that are not based in fact. Personally, I think I would be a little sensitive to people questioning my commitment to this team. Said it from the start, if I wasn't 100% committed to the squad and my team, then I wouldn't have come back.
Okay, so clearly a lot to unpack there, and I want to start the unpacking with Lewis because you had them on Monday Night Football, and obviously he looked great against the Lions, but I know you had a chance to talk with him leading into the game. What can you tell us, and how can that inform what this whole conversation has been?
Yeah, he's he had every right, I believe, to go ahead and call out people, whoever he was that he was specifically talking about, that were trying to speak on his mental state, his commitment to the team, and whether or not this was a guy who was all in and trying to get this team over the hump and get them to the Super Bowl. Because when we talked to him, look, there were different points in time in our conversations with him where you could tell he was very much so, I don't want to say emotional, but he was someone who very much so was cherishing the fact that he was back with his football team. He had like a guy like Randall Cobb who had come back, who he had played a big role in bringing back to this football team that he was so happy to be around, someone who he emotionally had a lot invested in, someone who he trusted, that he loved as a teammate and as a friend. And he really did want to go ahead and put his stamp on this season with a rebound performance against Detroit. And he absolutely lit him up. So, look, I'm all in on Aaron Rodgers and his commitment. There's no question about that.
Jeff Darlington, fill in some of the blanks.
Well, I just think that a lot of times we wind up taking a narrative from the offseason, and the second we see it somewhat validated early in the year, we're like, see, told you so. This is what we should have expected. But there's a lot of examples of similar situations. 2018, Tom Brady skipped OTAs. There was friction with him and the organization at that time. He came into that season, he lost 2 of his first 3 to the Jaguars and to the Lions. Guess what ultimately happened that season? Tom Brady won the Super Bowl. So I think a lot of times, had we known all of the things that were going on behind the scenes in 2018, we probably would have spent those first 3 weeks saying the exact same things. And good thing we didn't, because we would have been wrong. So I get where Rodgers is coming from here, and it is often important to be careful that we don't create